Click the links out to see Bit Chute on the channel, or check out Gab, Twitter, or not Twitter, Telegram, the various other links. Twitter, it's like you get on Twitter, you build up a few thousand subs, and then you get kicked off after like a few months. It's like, what's, and then you just keep repeating the cycle. It's like, you never let me get to 6 months, and then you kick me off. Like, you're better off getting on Gab. Anyway, Unlikable Blonde Girl. So this movie is made by the usual woke suspects in Hollywood. And it's going to be just the most insufferable piece of garbage. It's they gave a trigger warning, and one of the trigger warnings, whoa, peak clown world, is unlikable female protagonist. Like, why didn't you just say unlikable blonde girl? Yeah, this may be triggering to you because there's a blonde yeah, she's not blonde. It's weird. You dyed her hair. She actually has dark eyes, and I don't know what her natural hair color is, but you dyed this blonde. Kind of weird. That's like every single time. So you see this film and you ask, why not it's about a social media influencer who's I'll tell you this movie. Hold on. The movie in one. That's the movie. That's the movie right there. That sums up that movie. The one image right there. It's like, really, if you show me a cover of a film or an image from it or a comic or something like this, and I see this, I can tell you the alpha and omega of the story. Because I've seen it 1,000 times before. Who's the protagonist and who's the antagonist when you see this? Oh, well, you have no way of knowing. Yeah, you do, because you can be correct 99% of the time. In fact, lately, it's over the past 5 years, it's 100% of the time. When you look at this image, oh, okay, well, you know who the protagonist and the antagonist is. It's just a different way of telling the story with an established character and setting. It's like those Italian story structure with Scaramouche and all those. They just told the same story, the same characters in slightly different ways. It's the same thing every time. So you see this film and you ask yourself, why not make the antagonists Black, Asian, Latina? Doesn't it seem odd? It's always European and specifically blonde or red hair. Don't the coincidences start to add up for people? I mean, is it ever going to get to a point where people's almonds start getting activated? Every race swap is red or blonde for African, never the other way around. Doesn't it seem hateful to you? Dare I say it, doesn't it seem istophobic against the nicest people on earth, the beautiful people of the light? There's nobody more altruistic and generous and giving than those folks. It's okay to reject this hateful globalist propaganda. Why would I want to see films or comics where the antagonist is always out of Aryan central casting, not just for the hatred involved in making them the butt of every joke, but because it also ruins storytelling where you look at this one image and you know the story. It's complete. You never have to pick up the comic or the movie, because I can tell you who's going to be evil or foolish and who's going to be the wise voice of authority, because the wise voice of moral authority is always going to be a POC. Why would you support that? It makes for a very boring story when you can look at an image and be correct about your assessment of it. Nowadays, 100% of the time, that's a boring story. There's no willing suspension of disbelief when you look at this image and you know the story's complete. The girl on the right is not going to be the evil character. She's not going to be malicious and backbiting in any way whatsoever. She's going to be on the moral pedestal. And the girl whose hair they dyed blonde is always going to be evil, because if you go back through Hollywood films, note blonde hair, note non-blonde hair, and then draw a line down a piece of paper and note antagonist and protagonist. It goes back a long, long ways. So Hulu is Disney, and Disney is globalist cancer now. They've taken the mask off. They are full Marxist propaganda. They used to be family friendly. Those days are long gone. Allowing your kids access to Disney now is basically giving them to Satanists. Anyway, aren't there plenty of Black or Latina, Asian social media public figures who get into trouble for lying or for stealing money? Wasn't there a BLM lady who allegedly embezzled the BLM donations and bought herself 4 homes in Southern California? It seems a little odd that every movie, commercial, or comic has a blonde person acting evil or incompetent, especially in the commercials. Commercials are just over the top. And you have a plucky purse puppy is going to be the wise, kind-hearted voice of wisdom and moral authority. even if you don't pay attention to these cultural Bolsheviks, you got to notice the hate coming from the media. Noticing these coincidences is much more interesting to me than the films themselves. What would happen if the roles in the film were reversed, or if they made a movie about one of the BLM groups stealing donations? What do you think would happen if they did that? First of all, no film company would produce it. They would never get funding for it. They're mostly globalists. If someone did, by that I mean they're not in this as a business so much as to control the narrative. If someone did make the movie, if it was a lower budget independent film, it's possible. What network would then carry it? Amazon, Disney, HBO? None of them, because they have a narrative to push, and it's anti-white. Like, that's 90% of what they're putting out right now. The end of the film has the blonde girl's life destroyed because she said she was at some event and she wasn't. It's there's so many. There's a theme of school deletions dealing with the Second Amendment, and then there's the theme of she's in Paris at the Arc de Triomphe, and there's a mass event of Malamine. So I wonder what group in Paris is responsible. It's the end of the Champs-Élysées. I remember that from that rock song, came out in the 90s, where there's this mass bad act. So like, I wonder if it's in France, is it going to be the fair skinned skinhead types in France who are responsible for some mass? Oh yeah, probably they're probably going to have like. What are the odds they're blonde hair, blue eyed, and they have like crooked crosses like that? That's the theme, that theme of the bad guy. In America, they use white biker gangs. It's like every bad guy in a comic is either skinhead or blonde or green eyed biker gangs. They seem to think that like blonde biker gangs are way more prevalent in America. That I reference basically any comic book that has that theme, from Archie to Immortal Hulk. It's shocking how often, like keep in mind, you read comics, or if you just look through them, keep in mind that theme. I say the blonde, because sometimes they shave the head. I'll say green-eyed or blue-eyed biker gangs. Keep that theme in mind as you go through comics and you go like antagonist, protagonist. This doesn't make sense because most gang activity in America is not by people with green or blue eyed, and that's as far as I can go on YouTube. But you damn well sure know what I'm trying to say between the lines. It's like, I can't believe every day I'm on YouTube, I'm just waiting for that email like, your account has been permanently suspended. You're banned from all Google services. Why? What the hell did I say? What was so wrong? Oh, you got a little too close to the truth. I'm like 20,000 feet away from the truth on YouTube. Anyway, the blonde girl's life gets her life destroyed, and the POC girl is the ascendant moral authority, who the blonde girl has to then grovel before as part of the public humiliation ritual. Keep in mind, Wonder Woman 1984, the guy who played the Trump character, I forget him, he's some South American actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I think he's in Star Wars Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal, I think. So they dyed his hair blonde so you would know he's the antagonist. Like those two themes, if you remember nothing from these video, go back to Hollywood films. Notice blonde antagonists and then white biker gangs in America. Just keep that in mind as you watch. Doesn't matter if it's movies, comics, books, just keep those two themes in mind. And like once you see it, you go, holy shit, this nut job on YouTube, this Bianca character, they might be a little bit weird, but they're onto something. It's like, yeah, pretty soon people think you're a little bit weird too, because you're onto something that is haram and verboten. Anyway, so imagine turning that whole scene around, where the POC girl needs to be educated by her moral better, the blonde girl. At some point, this insane hatred has to become apparent to even the most asleep on the sulfuric bread and circuses, the viewer, the punter, the beer drinker, the video game player, the prawn enjoyer. Other groups don't accept this hate propaganda. They literally have groups to advocate and advance their interest. It seems odd that you don't have a group for that. If even in Congress, it's like, yeah, there's one group that doesn't have representation. Maybe it's time to get that representation. If the roles were reversed, social media and the media would speak out against it. They would lose their rag. Every group would, except for this one group, your group. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Subscribe Star if you have the means. And I'll see you guys on Odyssey, Bit Chute, Gab, and Telegram.